Today we're going to make a simple slip cover for my friend's gun safe. He is anticipating an extended visit from his grandchildren and wanted to make sure that a couple things were locked away from them. But he lives in a small place, so he can't really put this thing in the closet. So we're going to make a slip cover so nobody really ever knows what's underneath that cover. I would note one thing, this particular little gun safe, and this is a small one, but the handle and the dial stick out in front. So to get the slip cover to look right, we've cut this board which will allow, it's a little bigger than the top of the safe, it will allow for the slip cover to hang past the handles and everything without being all rippled up and messed up. So anyway, so this is going to be the size of our deck. The first thing you need to do is get yourself some measurements. This is what we'll be working with. It's not very big and it's not very tall. So we've cut the board. This will sit on top of the safe and extend out and allow for the handle mechanism and the dial. So first thing you gotta have, now in this case I cut my pieces before this and I laundered all this so that it would shrink. This is going to be in a common area of the house where people will be around it, so you want to be able to take it off and launder it. So all these fabrics shrink, some more than others, and it's hard to determine. You can't allow for it or anything. Best thing to do is cut big, wash and dry, and then press it out good and flat and recut it. So that's what I did here. This has been laundered and dried and shrunk, and this is going to be the size of our deck. So this is going to be the top of the safe, so this will be there just like that. We're going to begin with the front skirt. I always start in the front, so anything that goes sideways on me or a little out or any of that is never on the front of your project. So because we have a pattern, we want to keep this pattern going all the way from the floor up, across the top and down to the bottom. The best way to do that is to get your fabric just like that. We can line up these little ropes right here. We turn our side hems right here, get an idea where they gotta go. Go right to the corner of your board. And then we'll have one over here. Just like that. So when we sew it on, it'll look like that. So it all just continues right on. You have to be real careful about patterns. They're difficult like that. So there's about where we're going to do the side hem. You can do this with measurements as well. You don't have to hold it up, but I like to hold it up with patterns just to make sure everything looks good when it goes from one piece of fabric to the next. Alright, and we have determined that this needs to be a finished 22 and 3/4 long. So this hem's here. $23 1/4. Always do both sides. Okay. Now, when we're finished with this, we'll sew those hems in. Then we'll sew it to this. And that will be our front. And you can check yourself here. I need to let this hem in just a little bit right there, because it needs to come right exactly on that corner. Now if you're doing, say, a coffee table or an end table, you can hold it up to the edges of that and check yourself there. So that's what I need to do right there. We'll sew those in, and I'll need two like that. One for the front, one for the back. So I can go ahead and get that ready, and then we'll do the sides and the kick plate. Okay, because this is going to be laundered, as most things are, you want to not have raw edges. So I have a serger. I serge mine. If you don't have a serger, but you have like a zigzag, you can zigzag that edge. It'll achieve the same thing. If you have neither, then you may want to turn this hem like this instead of just turning it once, so that raw edge will be on the inside. You won't have that raveling when you launder. But I don't like this to be bulky, so, and I have the serger, so I'm just turning it once. And on my corners, you kind of want to do your hem first, so that this is all down like that. So, and I turn my little corner in so that I got a nice mitered edge right there. So that needs to be stitched, and this is the skirt that'll drop down in the back. So we're going to center it up, remembering that you need seam allowance for the skirts that go on the sides. So holding your 1/2 inch seam allowance right here, and remember we have a pattern. Now you can manipulate your fabric just a little. This is not a perfect match. Don't pull too hard, but you can pull that down there and make that match. Remember to hold your 1/2 inch over here. Okay, we're about to sew on our last pieces, which are the kick pleats. They go behind the skirt so that if it's open, you can't see in there through the little crack. Anyway, this is the work order. It gives you an idea how to cut your pieces. Of course, we got 4 corners, so you'll need 4 of them. I've already cut them, and I put a little hem in the bottom. Normally you want to go 1/2 and 1/2. I like 4 inches down each side. So in the back corners, we're going to go 1/2 and 1/2. In the front, we're going to do something slightly different. I'll explain that in just a moment. Can you get tight in here?
Your fabric's in the way, piled up right there.
Is that good? Okay, when you sew this in, you can see where your previous seam was. You want to stitch it in so that you don't get on the outside of that stitch. You want to stay up in the salvage, up in your seam allowance with this right here. So you sew to the corner. Make sure you got everything out of the way under here so that you don't, because it's real easy to catch this edge. So sew up into the corner. Raise this up, and you want to stop your needle right where the two pleats meet each other right there. And then to go around this corner, if you'll nip this right exactly up to your needle.
Fabric showing in the way.
Okay, when you go around the corner, if you'll nip that corner right up to the needle, then this will come around the corner and lay down nice and flat, not pucker up there. And remember, stay out here in your seam allowance. Don't sew up past your seam. Now, this is a good time to check yourself. You get right in this corner, fold that in half like that. You can catch this skirt and this skirt. Get them nice and even like that so that you can tell, you can pull up here and see if everything's going to be the same length. And your kick pleat should be just a fraction shorter. Just a little bit so that it doesn't hang out from underneath like a petticoat. So we're all good right there. That's that one. Now the front one we're going to do just slightly different because it is a gun safe, and if you did, say, a bureau that had drawers or maybe a stereo cabinet you wanted a skirt around or something, and you wanted your skirt not to interfere, then you make some allowances for that. So the front of his safe up to the door, see I've already sewed this side in, up to the door you got about 2 inches of frame on that safe. So we're keeping the front smaller so when he flips this up and goes inside, the kick pleats will be out of the way. And you would want to do that on like a stereo cabinet if you did that, or a bureau. You'd want your kick pleats not to get in the way. You could just flip the front up and get right in there. So let me just stitch this one in. Remember, you want to stop right here on the edge of your pleat so that you don't, everything will come together on the other side. I'm going to turn it. Get this part all nice and flat and straighten that out of the way. If you keep all your parts nice and straight, cut nice and straight and everything, then you can line these edges up. It's just like getting 2 pieces of paper lined up even. So then we have that. Now let me show you what we have on the finished side. This is going to be our finished product. Okay, you can see now you got your deck, skirts, kick pleats. There's one more thing that I like to do. I never like the way that this lays. So I go just one step farther and I do a little top stitch like that. And what you do is you catch all your seam allowances out on the edge and just run a stitch right here. It's a little tricky in the corners, but you can do it. You run that little top stitch around there and it makes everything lay down much better. So, I hope this has been informative. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to tell me, feel free to message me on my page. Thank you for watching.